when he starts getting that little smile on his face. He knows but he can stop him.
In the paint. Can't stop him there.
Agile, mobile, and starting to become hostile.
Footwork, jump shots, power.
In the history of the NBA, we've seen all different kinds of greatness. The court has been graced by artists whose footwork was a ballet and whose jump shots were brushstrokes on a canvas. It's been ruled by geniuses, players who saw the game in slow motion, manipulating angles and exploiting weaknesses a step ahead of everyone else. It's been dominated by athletes who seem to have a personal grudge against gravity, soaring to heights that defied logic. We've seen talents so transcendent they could bend the game to their will through sheer skill. But there has only ever been one true, unadulterated force of nature. A player so physically overwhelming, so completely unstoppable, that the league's fundamental strategies, its very rosters, and even its rulebook had to be rewritten just to find a way to survive him. This is the story of the year 2000, the year a 7'1", 325-pound behemoth stopped being just a superstar and became a walking, breathing nightmare for every poor soul who dared to stand in his way. This is the story of how Shaquille O'Neal, over the course of one terrifying season, became the most dominant player the game has ever and will ever see. To understand the monster that was unleashed in the 1999 to 2000 season, you have to understand the deep, simmering frustration that built him.
For Shaquille O'Neal to be as big as he is and carry that load, Shaq has some impeccable footwork. Shaq wasn't trying to finesse. He got to a spot and he was just like, F all this.
By the late 90s, the Lakers were a team of immense talent and even bigger disappointment. They had Shaq, already a titan of the league, and a young, electrifyingly ambitious Kobe Bryant. And yet their playoff runs always ended not with a bang, but with the humiliating broom of a sweep. The Utah Jazz sent them home in 1998. The San Antonio Spurs, led by their own Twin Towers, did the same in 1999, a series in which the Lakers looked completely outclassed and lost their final game at home. The talent was there, but the focus and discipline were not. The partnership between Shaq and Kobe was defined more by its internal friction than its on-court fusion. Something had to give, and that something came in the form of a man who knew a little something about winning championships. Phil Jackson. Fresh off 6 titles with Michael Jordan's Bulls, Jackson arrived in LA not just as a coach, but as a guru. His reputation preceded him. The championship rings demanded instant respect in a locker room full of stars. His first order of business? Challenging his superstar center. He looked at Shaq, this unbelievable physical specimen with otherworldly gifts, and saw untapped potential. He saw a global celebrity who hadn't yet embraced the singular, all-consuming burden of being a true champion. Jackson's challenge was direct and uncompromising. As Shaq himself recalled, Phil told him, "Look, man, you're the best big man I've ever seen. Just do me a favor this year. No rap videos, no commercials, no nothing. If you play the way I think you can play, you're going to be MVP and we're going to win a championship." It was a gauntlet thrown down. In another now famous meeting, Jackson, a man known for his Zen master mind games, simply instructed Shaq to move a large log at his Montana home before he would even agree to coach him. It was a test of will. Jackson wasn't just asking Shaq to play better. He was asking him to dedicate his entire existence to a single goal. And for the first time in his career, Shaq fully and completely committed. It was a well-known fact around the league that Shaq often used the season to play himself into shape. But not this year. He showed up to training camp that fall in the best shape of his life. He was leaner, more agile, and possessed a gas tank the league had never seen from a man his size. This wasn't just about losing a few pounds. It was a profound mental transformation. The fun-loving, movie-making, rap album-dropping Shaq, the celebrity, took a backseat. In his place was a focused, relentless, and terrifyingly motivated athlete. Phil Jackson's contribution wasn't just motivational, it was tactical. He installed the famed triangle offense, a system most people associated with perimeter players like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. But in LA, the triangle was reverse engineered for one purpose: feed the beast. The system, in its purest form, often used the center as a facilitator, but Jackson and his assistant Tex Winter adapted. As one Laker from that team put it, Shaq became the system. The offense's intricate cuts and meticulous spacing were all designed to create one outcome: get Shaq the ball in the low post with only one defender to beat. It forced opposing defenses into a nightmarish, unwinnable scenario.
I think that year I averaged 29, played 79 games, MVP by far. I actually would have made history, but some idiot in Atlanta, I wish I could say his name because I would call him an idiot to his face, he messed up history. I would have been the first ever unanimous decision MVP. But this idiot, got his name?
Fred Hickman.
Yeah, Fred Hickman, idiot, gives 2 votes to Allen Iverson and he messes up history. Idiot.
Leave your center on an island with the most powerful player in the league, or send a double team and watch elite shooters like Glenn Rice and Robert Horry, or a slashing savant like Kobe Bryant get wide open looks. Before the season even began, the blueprint for a nightmare was complete. A singularly focused, physically peaked Shaquille O'Neal placed inside an offensive system perfectly designed to weaponize his every gift. The league had absolutely no idea what was about to hit it. From the very first tip-off, it was clear this was a different Shaq. This wasn't just dominance, it was utter annihilation. He finished the season leading the league with a career-high 29.7 points per game, along with 13.6 rebounds, a career-high 3.8 assists, and 3.0 blocks. He also led the NBA in field goal percentage at a staggering 57.4%, despite taking more shots than almost anyone. But the numbers, as historic and jaw-dropping as they are, don't begin to capture the sheer terror he caused on a nightly basis. He was a giant who could bulldoze through anyone, but what made him a true nightmare was his shocking agility and speed. Defenders expecting a slow, plodding big man were left staring at the rafters as he executed a lightning-quick drop step or a graceful spin move for a rim-shattering dunk. Double teams were mercilessly picked apart by a surprisingly deft pass to an open teammate, a skill honed by the triangle offense. He ran the floor like a man 100 pounds lighter, turning defensive rebounds into thunderous fast-break dunks that just sucked the life out of entire arenas. It was like watching a video game glitch, a character whose size and speed attributes were maxed out beyond the realm of logic. There is no greater example of his vindictive power than what happened on March 6th, 2000, his 28th birthday. The Lakers were playing their crosstown rivals, the Clippers, a game where the Lakers were technically the road team in their own building. Apparently, Shaq was annoyed that the Clippers organization gave him a hard time over his request for extra tickets for family and friends. He decided to take that personally. The result was one of the most brutal and dominant individual performances in modern NBA history. Shaq dropped a career-high 61 points and snatched 23 rebounds. He was a one-man wrecking crew, single-handedly getting the Clippers' entire front line, Michael Olowokandi, Maurice Taylor, and Lamar Odom, to either foul out or teeter on the edge of it. He later famously said, "Don't ever make me pay for tickets." It was a petty, vengeful, and absolutely breathtaking performance that served as a perfect microcosm of what he had become. He wasn't just beating teams, he was punishing them for their audacity. As the season went on, opposing coaches grew desperate. Guarding him one-on-one was professional suicide. He was too big, too strong, too quick. He'd get positioned so deep in the paint that any shot was basically a dunk. So teams would send 2, sometimes even 3 defenders, collapsing their entire defense into the paint just to wall him off. But just as Phil Jackson's triangle predicted, that simply opened up the floor for everyone else to feast. With no conventional way to stop him, the league turned to the unconventional, a strategy of last resort that would become synonymous with his name, the Hack-a-Shaq. Teams began intentionally fouling him away from the ball, a jarring tactic that would grind the game to a halt to send him to the free throw line, where he was a notoriously poor shooter, hitting only 52.4% that season. But here's the crazy part. Hack-a-Shaq wasn't proof of his weakness. It was the ultimate proof of his dominance. It was a white flag. It was a league-wide admission from every coach that their defensive schemes, their multi-million-dollar centers, and their best-laid plans were completely and utterly useless against him. It was the only answer they had, and most of the time, it didn't even work. Before we break down how Shaq carried this reign of terror into the playoffs, make sure you subscribe for more stories on the most legendary seasons in sports history. By the end of the regular season, his dominance was an undisputed, universal fact. The Lakers won 67 games, one of the best records in their storied franchise history. So when it came to the MVP vote, it was a lock. Or it should have been. Of the 121 media members with a vote, 120 cast their first-place ballot for Shaquille O'Neal. One and only one did not. CNN's Fred Hickman voted for Allen Iverson. Hickman argued that the term was most valuable player, and Iverson was more valuable because the Sixers would be a lottery team without him, while the Lakers without Shaq would still be a good team. That single dissenting vote became infamous, sparking outrage from fans, media, and Shaq himself, and according to Hickman, even resulted in death threats. But in a strange way, the controversy over that one vote just amplified the truth. The near unanimity in the firestorm over its failure proved how obvious it was to everyone watching basketball that year. Shaquille O'Neal wasn't just the most valuable player, he was on another planet entirely. The regular season was a statement. The playoffs were the coronation. If it was even possible, Shaq took his game to another, higher level, averaging an absurd 30.7 points and 15.4 rebounds through the postseason gauntlet. After dispatching the Sacramento Kings and the Phoenix Suns, the Lakers ran into the one team in the Western Conference Finals that was truly built to stop them, the Portland Trail Blazers. The 2000 Trail Blazers were a super team of their era, incredibly deep, immensely talented, and notoriously tough, with a roster featuring future Hall of Famers like Scottie Pippen and Arvydas Sabonis, alongside all-stars like Rasheed Wallace and Steve Smith. They truly believed they could go toe-to-toe with the Lakers, and they pushed them to the absolute limit, forcing a deciding Game 7 in Los Angeles. And for 3.5 quarters, it looked like the Lakers' dream season was about to curdle into a nightmare. The Blazers were brilliant. They systematically took the Lakers apart, building a 15-point lead with just over 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The dynasty was about to die before it was even born. The Staples Center was dead silent. The Lakers looked confused, defeated, and finished. And then, it happened. A comeback for the ages. Sparked by a sudden defensive intensity, the Lakers held Portland scoreless for over 7 minutes, as the Blazers went ice cold, missing 13 straight shots. The Lakers clawed their way back, point by excruciating point. With under a minute left, they had stormed all the way back to take a 4-point lead. Then came the play that would define an era. Kobe Bryant drove the lane, drew the entire Portland defense towards him, and threw a high, arcing lob toward the heavens. Descending from the sky was Shaq, who caught the pass and slammed it through the hoop with volcanic force. It was the exclamation point on a staggering 25-4 run to win the series. It was more than just a play, it was a symbol. The torch had been passed, a dynasty was born, and the nightmare was headed to the NBA Finals. His opponent in the finals was the Indiana Pacers, a tough, gritty, veteran team led by legendary shooter Reggie Miller. But they had a fatal flaw. No one on their roster had a prayer of handling Shaquille O'Neal. Their center was the skilled but slender 7'4" Rick Smits. While Smits had given a younger Shaq trouble in the past, this was a different beast entirely. It was a matchup of a fine instrument against a battering ram. The result was one of the most lopsided individual performances in NBA Finals history. Shaq's averages for the 6-game series were simply silly. 38.0 points, 16.7 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. He dropped 43 points in Game 1, 40 in Game 2, and a soul-crushing 41 in the series-clinching Game 6 in Indiana. The Pacers threw everything at him: double teams, triple teams, hard fouls from Smits and Dale Davis. But it didn't matter. He was inevitable. The Lakers won the championship, their first of 3 straight, and Shaq was, of course, unanimously named Finals MVP. The championship trophy was the final piece of proof. The 1999-2000 season was the ultimate, undisputed display of physical dominance in modern basketball. But Shaq's impact went far beyond one title. He didn't just beat the league, he fundamentally broke it. Hack-a-Shaq was a desperate testament to his unstoppable nature. But the bigger change came a year later. In 2001, the NBA officially re-legalized the zone defense for the first time since 1947. Now, the league never explicitly said this is because of Shaq, but it's widely understood as a direct measure to give teams a fighting chance against paint-bound monsters like him, letting them clog the lane without having to leave a man to double team. He literally forced the league to change its rules. For years after, general managers across the NBA built their rosters with a specific archetype in mind. The Shaq stopper, big, bulky, often limited centers, whose main job was simply to exist, absorb 6 fouls and slow the inevitable for just a few minutes. For one perfect, terrifying season, Shaquille O'Neal wasn't just a basketball player. He was a force of nature, a gravitational singularity that warped the entire sport around his presence. He was a problem with no solution. He was and forever will be a walking nightmare that the NBA will never, ever forget. If you enjoyed this breakdown of one of the most dominant seasons ever, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Let us know in the comments which legendary player or historic team we should break down next. Thanks for watching.
And I just closed my eyes and I said, God, please.
I'm just holding one whole muscle, right? The rep ain't calling. Rep, call it. Shit, call it. Like, call this.
You saying Shaq? That's what everybody in here is supposed to say Shaq.
In your era, what was it like having to guard a guy like Shaq?
Impossible.
2002 finals, Shaq and Kobe. You guys run through the East, and you guys run into them. What was it like? There was one picture, I think, in that finals where Shaq was dunking on everybody on the team at one time.
Absolutely.
In one video.
That is one of the best pictures in sports history. In NBA history, dog. Like steal shots, that's one of the best pictures ever.
How tough were they, though?
Huh?
How tough were they in their bag, though?
Dog, it's...
But you were someone, you had to guard, you were a rare person who could guard Shaq, and you had to guard both of them at times.
Yeah, I was the roamer. I was the double guy, because it fit like weight-wise, I couldn't do nothing with that dude. If I did get caught on him, all I had to do was try to front him, and he just pushed me up the lane. They throw the bitch
How
over
strong
the top.
was he?
Impossible to guard.
Impossible.
Yeah. Listen, man, so you pick your poison. Do you try to play him straight up? You know what he gonna do.
Eat.
Do you double?
Swing.
Now you got Derek Fisher going 4 for 7, Robert Horry going 2 for 5, Devin George going 2 for 5. Like, it's just
pick your poison.
So then what do you do? And then you got the other animal that one-on-one is destroying us.
Everybody in the world.
Shaq averaging 36, he averaging 26, whatever. Like, it was impossible.